Welcome back to the Hatton for Horrors podcast, where we gather together to talk about horror movies and horror movie franchises. I'm Mark,
I'm Tawan.
I'm Maria.
and today we're watching Quarantine, which came out in 2008, which is also a remake of 2007's Wreck, a pretty much shot for shot remake. But before we get into that, Tawan, can you give the people a plot summary?
Sure thing. Reporter Angela, played by Jennifer Carpenter, and her cameraman Scott, played by Steve Harris, are doing a story on night shift firefighters for a reality TV program. A late night distress call takes them to a Los Angeles apartment building where the police are investigating a report of horrific screams. The TV team and emergency workers find an old woman who suddenly attacks with teeth bared. What's more, Angela and company find that the building has been sealed by the CDC workers. Then the attacks really begin.
So, Quarantine. Coming into this, I think I said back in our Wreck episode that I actually saw this movie before I saw Wreck. And I watched Wreck for the first time for this podcast. And I have to say, that completely ruined this movie for me. Wreck is far more superior. This movie is missing something. But what did you guys think when you guys first put on Wreck, me in Quarantine?
So would have to say I agree as well, and also same. I'm pretty sure I did see Quarantine before I ever saw the Wreck movies. So when I eventually watched Wreck and then saw that Quarantine was just a remake of it, and then experienced both of those movies, Wreck is definitely like the better one, no contest between the two. But I feel like it's hard to say much about Quarantine because it's literally almost basically the same movie without like any additions, and like the additions that were made were like really minor things, and it being like a shot for shot thing is kind of just one of those instances where it's like the studios just made this for people who don't want to read subtitles basically. And you because you're getting like the same story, and the only thing at most that was changed was the religious aspect of it all, and it being like a different point of like infection and how they went about it and such. But everything else for the general of it is pretty much the same, like beats and everything of Rec, but it just didn't carry the same weight as Rec did. Like Rec itself just felt more um it felt like I was actually experiencing this with the people, whereas Quarantine is
It was
more
more gritty in
polished.
Wreck.
Yeah, it was more gritty, and Quarantine just felt more polished than Rec did, and you don't get that same feeling of like the grittiness that like Rec had, and it just didn't come off as the same, even though like many of the shots are the same in this movie, the plot beats and everything, who gets infected.
This one's too polished.
Yeah, and that's what I would have to say. Also, I have to agree. Also, it's like it feels a lot more polished, and like the cameras are like super high def and everything, and like like it looked like they were actually on handy cams like filming this for us.
Because they were on handy cams for because they even showed like in the behind the scenes for Wreck that the director would give the actor the camera and be like, like film this. Well, actually, some like he would give them a dummy camera and see how they would hold it and see how what they would do with it. So when they yelled action, he would kind of mimic that to make it look amateurish, which goes a long way. This movie felt way too Hollywood. It was missing something.
Yeah,
What about you, Maria?
Yeah, I did not like it. It felt, well, for one, the cameraman was shaking the camera so much. I swear, I felt like I was getting dizzy, um, watching the movie, but it was also kind of too much like the first movie. I mean, like Wreck, but I liked Wreck a lot better. Like, I really liked the whole, religious aspect. I felt like it was a nice twist. Um, I didn't really like I don't know. I didn't like the movie. It was it didn't feel as authentic as Breck did. It didn't feel I didn't like I was fully aware that I was watching a movie, and I also couldn't help but compare it to Wreck the whole time. Like there are like little things that were so similar to Wreck, and but they just didn't do it very well. Um yeah, I did not like it. And I didn't watch Quarantine before because it's a zombie movie and I don't really like to watch zombie movies because they scare me. But um but yeah, the Rec completely ruined the movie for me because Rec was amazing and Quarantine was just not. I watched it with my sister, and she was like, and I think she really liked the movie, and I was like, you like this? Like I was, um, but yeah, it was,
I feel like you like this one if you haven't seen the original,
yeah,
which
yeah, I
is my
was.
problem with remakes in general. But what are some scenes that you guys liked or didn't like?
Um, the scene I did like, which will also go up as like my favorite kill, of course. Which I would say really was the only interesting kill was when the camera guy killed the one lady with the camera, and thought that was pretty cool for like a kill at least.
That
But
was.
it's like because like it was like shot for shot for most part. I can't even like say anything was like more interesting. Like they didn't do much like anything interesting with any of like the
Yeah,
shots to like make it different.
yeah, everything is pretty much the same. I mean, all they pretty much did was change names and titles and all that.
Hmm.
All pretty much the same.
Wasn't her name also the same, Angela?
Well, yeah, her name was the same. Everyone else's was changed. I was like, what the fuck? You changed. You kept her name, but changed. Well, I guess they did because no, her name was Angela, or it was more Spanish sounding in the original, so they just made her regular old Angela in this
Yeah.
one.
It's
Yeah,
the
this
same spelling though.
yeah, they were just be I don't know. Yeah, all the scenes are pretty much the same.
Yeah,
Like if I,
even like the scene with the dad, and also the scene where they were trying to accuse other people of like bringing the virus, and the mom. I was like, this is I'm
she was
watching
still
Wreck, but
racist.
it
It's
was
just
awful.
all they did was like race switch instead of it being towards Asian people. They made it towards
Yeah,
like I don't know if they were African or Jamaican. They were foreigners, but still like lady. I mean, only thing that was different was because the way I remembered it, because we were talking about it and for the Reg podcast, I thought the little girl bit her mother, but she only vomited. But in this one, it looks like she bit
Yeah,
her. Did she not
she
bite
did.
her?
She bought it. She bit her mother in this one when she was holding her.
Yeah, and I love that actress. I've seen pretty much everything she's done since she's been an adult. The girl who played
Oh
Brianna,
yeah, her name was
yeah, yes, yeah,
Joey King.
I love Joey
Yeah.
King.
yeah. Me and my
I love
sister
her
talked
and
about
her
it too.
sister. Her and her sister, they look like they could be twins, but her sister is like 2 years older than her. They look exactly like. Her sister's one of my favorite soap opera actresses from The Young and the Restless. Y'all know I love my soap operas. But I was like, the cast is full of people who I recognize, like the fireman Jake, Jay Hernandez. Wait, is that
Yeah,
his
that's his
name?
name. I remember him from
Yeah,
Hostel.
Jay Hernandez. I've seen him in a bunch of stuff. He's currently playing Magnum PI, which I haven't seen because I don't like remakes, and I prefer the original Magnum TV show from the '80s. But I hear it's good. I hear he's good in it.
Yeah, he was in Hostel as well, the first one.
Oh yeah, he was in Hostel. He was the cute friend. Hostel 2 freaks me out, but we'll get there at some point. And then the man who plays what's his name? What character was that? Oh well, yeah, Columbus Short was in this movie
Oh
too. He
yeah,
played the cop. I was like, what the hell? That the cop was more annoying this time. I thought I hated him last time, but in this one he was just like completely stupid and annoying and was not
Really, I
good.
actually liked him this time because
Oh,
last time.
we'll get
Oh, okay,
but I also know the actor who played Lawrence. He's been on like Once Upon a Time and Law and Order, and he was just recently on Grey's Anatomy. And Dennis O'Hare was in here from the American Horror Story
oh
yeah,
show.
yeah, yeah.
And then the infected person, like the main one, is played by Doug Jones, who he's in every movie that requires some weird special
oh yeah. He is
practical effects or makeup. Like he's always dressed up as some
yeah,
shit.
he's great.
And when you're that tall and slinky, I guess it works for you. It keeps you paid because any weird creature in a movie, they call him up. I mean, he was the dead man in Hocus Pocus. He's come back Hocus Pocus too. He was Bye Bye Man in Bye Bye Man, the horror movie, which we're gonna cover at some point. I've only seen that once in theaters.
Yeah, I mostly
Same.
remember him from I know he did the water creature in Shape of Water.
Yeah, I just recently watched that with my boyfriend. I forgot how long and like a movie's good. It's just a lot.
I didn't feel that movie that much. Like I like the visuals of it. I really wasn't feeling it. I don't think it
The
was.
visuals is good. They got the time setting like it felt like of the time. It just was something was missing. She was fucking a fish. And he was also in Hellboy.
Yeah,
That was like my first introduction to him. I mean, he was playing
also the fish guy,
the eight.
right?
Yeah, the mother fish guy. But since we have no scenes to talk about, since all the scenes are pretty much the same, luckily some of the characters were slightly different. So let's hop into it. Let's talk about Angela. How do we feel about this Angela versus the original Angela, Maria?
I don't. She was okay. I mean, I like her actress. Honestly, saw her in Emily Rose. Um, her acting. I thought her acting was good. Her character, though, I don't know. She didn't really stand out for me compared to the other Angela. I guess. Um, she seemed honestly. I guess she seemed to have of a more realistic reaction than the other Angela. Cause she was freaking the fuck out, and I'm like, same. That scene where she was like yelling that she got bit, and they had to like calm her down that she didn't get bit. Like, like saying I'd be terrified. She was terrified the whole time. You can totally tell, and I thought that was pretty great. Cause she wasn't. Cause I feel like I mean I can't help but like compare the two, but Angela in the Wreck movie, she seemed to kind of like in a way try to take charge, I guess. She was like fighting her way through, but I feel like this Angela, she was more of like reacting to what was going on. You could tell she was terrified, you could tell she was freaking out. Um she wasn't pushing the camera on people as much, which I thought, in the situation you're in, that's what, kind of what you're supposed to do. I mean, I liked her overall. I guess when I keep comparing her to the other Angela, I mean, I like them both for different reasons, but I liked her.
Tuan.
Yeah, I would agree. I'd say Jennifer Carpenter. She did like out of pretty much everybody in the movie. She did the best, and feel like she took the role the best out of everyone. So I would probably say like she was one of the better parts of the movie. And I would agree with Maria. Like her reactions were like spot on for like the situation that the characters were in. Like I probably would be reacting the same way, i.e., freaking the fuck out because um, don't know what you just got yourself into. Like the scene when the one of the guys tried to leave out of the building and he got shot. Like her reaction to that was pretty spot on for like what happened and if like she was in that situation. So I felt like she was good in the role and like she fit for what was going on. Um, I wouldn't say I'd like, of course, liked her more than the original Angela, but at least for what this movie was, like she did good at what she was given.
Yeah, I feel like you can totally tell from her face because I feel like the the other Angela, she was more kind of like excited of being in that situation because it's the story, she gets to cover it, she's up front. But I feel like this Angela, she was like, you could see it in her face that she was like, "Fuck, why am I here? How did this happen? How the fuck? I could have just been home."
But for me, she didn't have she didn't have as much of an impact as the original Angela did. Like she was, it kind of felt like she was just there, just saying the dialogue and just to like get to the next scene. But with the other Angela, I felt like she was like really in it. and like really part of the story. Like I felt like I was actually watching like a segment from a late night TV show. She didn't see like this person when like you could tell this person was an actress. I mean, because the other Angela was an actress, so like she had the awkwardness on camera that made it feel authentic. But speaking of camera, what do you guys think about the camera guy, Scott? Who's black this time? I feel like I didn't like him either. He was just there. What do you guys think?
I would say more of the same. To be honest, he was kind of just there. We did see him though, like once or twice, and he did kill the one infected with the camera, which that, like I said, was one of my, I would say, one of the best scenes out of this one, since it was just something different than what was in the original Wreck. So um, I like that kill, but I didn't I didn't really like buy that him and Angela were like. I felt like in the other movie, like in the first Wreck, I don't know if I recall, I felt like Angela and the other cameraman, I think they had like not a relationship, but like a like a workers like relationship type of thing. I felt like these two were just like paired together and they were just doing like their job or whatnot. But yeah, he was kind of just there, and I hate to say that because like it's not adding anything, but like this movie didn't add anything, so it's hard to even like speak on it really.
Right.
Yeah, yeah, he was kind of just there, and I felt like they kind of just used him for some scenes just to kind of pass along the story or pass the story along, but it was yeah, he didn't really pop out to me. Not really until towards the end when he had to kill that lady with the camera, when he was calming her down too, and when oh, and like when he died, I thought that was when he was trying to help Angela and you know get away from that thing that was there. But that was about it. He didn't really stand out during like the beginning of the movie.
What about fireman Jake? He was attractive. I always thought Jay
My God,
Hernandez
he
was
was
attractive.
so
He
cute.
was so cute.
So sad when he died. I was like, no.
I was like, no, not the cute fireman. Damn.
Literally, I think, and like I know that we had said this last time how we kind of wish that the fireman survived, but I really
Hmm.
wish that this time the fireman survived. I think even my sister said it. She was like, if only like he should have survived, and I was like, facts.
They would have been cute together. But what do you guys think about Jake this
I
time
mean,
around compared to
he
his?
was putting in work. He took out like a couple of infected, if I recall correctly.
He had more action this time
Yeah,
around.
he was like doing man. I remember he threw the one infected off the. He threw it infected off the railing down to the bottom of the floor. He was actually like putting in work to like help them out this time around, and he didn't feel useless.
Yeah, he
Right.
was. Yeah, he was really like. Well, for one, he was so cute. But like, no, yeah, he was helping out, and you can see in the movie that he was like freaking out too. He was, he was scared. He was because I think in the first movie it was mostly the cop taking charge in the beginning, but I felt like this time around it was, it was him. He was taking charge. He was trying to get everybody out of there. He was trying to leave. He was trying to help everyone really. Um, when it came down to it, yeah, he killed a lot of infected people, and I was just like, oh my God. When he broke that lady's neck, I don't know. I was like, this is nuts. Yeah, and then he threw that other person off like the railing, and yeah, I feel like he did a lot to help them. Just to end up getting bitten
Yeah,
last minute, I feel was like, I don't know. I don't know, because he basically helped them. He basically did everything. Like like Angela wasn't helping. The camera guy wasn't helping. He wasn't. To be fair, he wasn't helping like in the other movie too. But he really wasn't helping this time either. He was literally just following behind them, recording everything, but like um it just sucks that he had to die. I think it was the only death that I was really like, well, no, like I was very sad about. Everybody else was like, oh, But
But what about his friend? What about Fletch? I didn't. He was so he. They tried too hard to make him into a douche. What you guys think about Fletch?
I did not like him. He was just like, I mean, he didn't really have like much of an impact, I guess.
Yeah, I'm
Like I
honestly
feel like
trying
as
to
soon
think
as
back.
yeah, like I feel like as soon as they got there, he like broke his neck and they were trying to save him, and then he was became a zombie and or a rabid person, and then that was it.
Yeah, I didn't like him either. But what about Danny? I feel like he was so much more annoying this time around, and he wasn't. At least the other cop, like he had like an authoritarian like presence. He was just like whiny the entire movie.
Yeah, Columbus Short.
What do you guys think about
Yeah,
Danny?
Columbus Short doesn't really give off like authoritative vibes, like as an actor, or as like
He don't
he
got
just
the big dick energy.
yeah, he just looks like he looks like welcoming. He doesn't look like authoritative. Like I didn't yeah he didn't really give off like that vibe as like a cop that was supposed to come in and like handle the situation. Um, he was also like another one that was just there and eventually just got bitten as well.
Yeah, I agree. He was very whiny, and which I get he was freaking out too, at least he wasn't really trying to hide it. I feel like the first cop, he was like trying to remain calm, and he's trying to make it seem like everything was under control when it wasn't. I feel like this cop, um, he was scared. I would be too. Like I would like, once they started shutting everything down, closing the doors, locking us in, all that is out the window. I'm not helping anybody. I'm sorry. Um, um,
He
but
was
I
too
mean,
loyal to the badge. Like you're locked in here with us, sir.
yeah,
Relax.
yeah, exactly. Like, but I mean, he tried. I guess he was following. What was it, Jake? He was trying to, support him as much as he could, but he was scared, which I'd be fucking terrified, but um he tried. That's the best is the best thing that I can say about him. He tried his best until, it just became too much, which, makes sense. I feel like it's a realistic reaction,
Yeah.
Yeah, but I was happy when he died. I was like, yes, get him off the screen. What about Lawrence? Lawrence was the one that was shot in the head by the window.
Oh, he wasn't. He wasn't even there that long, if I recall, right?
He wasn't.
Yeah, and that was the only other. That was like the thing I would say was one of the changes that they did because I don't think they did that in the first one, correct? In the original wreck, I don't think.
No, they didn't kill anyone. They didn't shoot. They started to shoot, but
Yeah,
like
I would say that was like more changes like that would have been cool to have in this movie. Like I thought that was like a decent change to put in. Because I mean, obviously, like I feel like if I was in this situation, I probably would have got shot because I probably would have tried to leave too. But I like because I feel like if this was a real situation, someone would have actually done that and end up gotten shot like in the way he did.
yes,
So like that's a change that like it worked for the movie, and I'm like, okay, why couldn't we get more changes like this?
yep. What about you,
Yeah.
Maria?
I feel like, well, yeah, I don't really, to be honest, I don't really remember who that was, but I remember the scene though, because I feel like it was like the scene where everybody inside realized, like, fuck, like we're really stuck in here, like they're not gonna let us out. Like we're stuck. Like we can't go outside. Um, the scene that he was in was very impactful. I feel like he himself was not.
But what about Kathy and Brianna? I feel like she was more irritating this movie than she was last movie. It, see, the difference is with all the performances, these feel like actors. playing a role. Whereas last time they felt like real people. It felt like I was actually watching this found
Yeah,
footage. But this time it just all felt acted. And I hated Kathy. What about you guys?
yeah. Kathy was she was kind of annoying. Like it's and then it's like her also like because I forget what she said that Brianna like was infected with or something this time around. I'm like, that girl looks sick. Whatever you talking about, she got it ain't that because that girl looks sick, sick. And then she just ends up getting fucking bitten by her daughter.
To be honest, they didn't really stand up to me this time. Like they were kind of like in the background, really. I feel like because I saw Rec first, I kind of already knew kind of what was gonna happen, you know, it was obvious, but so she had said that her daughter had bronchitis.
There we go.
Um, yeah, and no, yeah, that girl looks sick as fuck. Like I don't know why they still had her downstairs. I don't. And then what did annoy me though was that she was telling her daughter to run. It's like, man, your daughter just bit you in the neck, and you're telling her to run away. Like I don't know. It was, but it. I feel like their whole characters definitely felt like it was actors playing them and not really anything else. It didn't really seem authentic in any way. I felt like they were just placed there because, you know, they needed a little bit more drama or something.
What about Brianna? I feel like she was better this time. This this version of her was more deadlier than what was her name, Jennifer, only because like she bit some people, and she bit the shit out of her
Yeah, she
mom.
did.
That's what she. That's what her mom gets to, bitch.
Oh my God.
It's her fault. You should have been blaming those poor black people instead of realizing that your sick ass daughter don't get bronchitis or whatever, and now she the reason why you dying. But what did you guys think?
I'm trying. So like, don't really think I have like much of an opinion on her, but I will say her biting the shit out of her mom like that was like also one of the better scenes. But I don't. It just feel like grasping at straws to find stuff to even talk about with these people just because of like the state of the movie and it being like shot for shot almost. But when they were when they were going after her after she bit her mom and she ran away and they were like walking up to her, I'm like, okay, y'all have seen other infected by people at this point. Why are we walking up to this little girl who's obviously infected now?
Even if it is a kid, like
Exactly.
be cautious, kiddo.
Like the officer literally just walked right up to her and like, do you not see her face? Like we seen the other people.
She's foaming at the
Exactly.
mouth.
So I'm like, why are we even like lock her ass up in another apartment, close the door, and we worry about her later or something? Because I'm not about to walk up to her, and I'll tell them like we not doing this.
Yeah, like she had blood all over her mouth. She was foaming. I don't understand why. How in what world was that? Did that tell them like, let me go near this child after I just saw like 10 people die? I don't know. But yeah, she didn't stand out to me as much. Um, I thought her like the makeup that they put on her to make her look infected was a lot cooler than the first one. Like she definitely looked infected,
hmm
you know. She didn't look like some little girl that just bit somebody. She looked like she had something in her. She definitely didn't look like herself, and she looked scary. Like she looked like a scary child. Like I was
Yeah,
afraid.
she actually did.
But what about? See, we don't have Tristiana this time. We have the infected Thin Man. That's what he's credited as, the infected Thin Man. Well, the thin infected man is how he's credited. But it looked like the exact same design from the first
Yeah,
from
it
Wreck.
Yeah,
did.
And it doesn't have any religious like undertones. It was just the Armageddon virus. Like this time, it's actually made by a doomsday cult.
yeah.
What do you guys think about that? Like they stepped away from the religion, this is a possession deal, and now it's just like a biochemical disaster that was created by a doomsday cult. What do you guys think about that
I mean,
twist?
honestly, I would have rather they just went with a straight up infection type thing. It's like that because at least with Wreck, we got like a sequel or something to go more into detail. But I mean, with this one, there was no sequel, like direct sequel for this one that like went into more detail about anything. So it really was just there to like give us something to like grasp onto where these things came from and to kind of make it more of like an overarching thing like Rec did initially with like the whole religious aspect of it. But like this didn't like it didn't really go anywhere with it. So it was just kind of there. Like if they had just did a straight up infection thing, I mean, like not this movie would have been any better, but it would have it they weren't going to go into detail about it, so it just would have been like a straight up like infection type movie like deal. But I mean, at least they came up with something, and like that was like another thing they tried to do differently. But I mean, I can't even say it failed because like they didn't get a sequel for it. But it just really wasn't much to like grasp at with it. It was just like something to put in there to give it that same kind of overarching thing that Rick did with religion, but this time with the apocalypse and like a doomsday type cult. So I like get where they're going for with it, but it was like okay, so this is like our setup this time around.
I kind of wish, like, if that's the direction they wanted to take it in, then they should have. I feel like they could have done so much with basing, infection being spread in like a cult. That would have been pretty cool, you know? It it just, yeah, it definitely seems like kind of like a, I don't know, it didn't make any
Like
sense
a
to me. Like I was
placeholder
like, oh, like,
almost. Like they didn't know
yeah,
what to
like
go
I
with, so
was,
they were like, "We're gonna do this."
yeah, yeah, I felt like they were like, oh, let's come up with ideas about why this is happening. Oh, cool, yeah, why not? But like, I don't know, it just didn't make sense to me. And then the infected men at the end, it also didn't make sense to me.
Same.
Like why, like okay, so it's a cult, all right, but why is there this tall ass, basically naked man walking around? Like I don't, like it just didn't make sense. It's like they plagiarized the Wreck movie, but they wanted to come up with their own ideas and didn't do it very well.
Because this movie came out less than a year after Wreck. Like this came out before Wreck 2 came out. So I'm pretty sure they probably weren't aware that there was gonna be a Wreck 2. So they probably Wreck ended with a cliffhanger. We're gonna end on a cliffhanger. But the Wreck team they had planned. They at the very least had planned for a second movie. So they knew they were gonna have to explore it more in Wreck 2. But this movie just introduced this whole new like this doomsday cult, and then we don't get a direct sequel to this. It's kind of stupid. But that's the movie we just watched. But let's get some behind the scenes facts. And like I said, this movie was made less than a year after the first one came out, like super less than a year, because Wreck came out in theaters in November 23rd, 2007. Quarantine started filming January 2008. So like less than a month later, I mean after Rec was in theaters, they were filming Quarantine. And this movie came out October 2008. So that was a big turnaround. And the budget for Quarantine was $12 million, and they made $41.3 million at the box office, which is a big return. That's actually
Mm,
not bad. That's more than I would have thought they would have made, given that this sequel is was like direct to video.
yeah.
So, but besides that, given that this was a Hollywood production, Quarantine does not feature a musical score, which people thought which was interesting. The apartment complex was a completely built set that was fully functional with the four floors. They pretty much did the same thing that Rec did when they built their set. Critics' reaction on Rotten Tomato, the movie has a 56% um, positive based off 86 reviews with an average rating of 5.6 out of 10. The New York Times praised it, saying it had solid acting and perfectly calibrated shocks. Blade Disgusting gave the movie a 3.5 out of 5 and said that a study in claustrophobia, an expert cast, it was edited and staged with expert meticulousness and precision. The film only major flaw is that it needs to explain what the fuck the ending was.
Pretty much.
Uh, and Fangoria gave it a 3 out of 4 stars, called it an acceptable substitute for the original film. But that's our interesting facts. So, Maria Tuan, what do you guys give Quarantine out of 5?
I would give Quarantine like a 2 out of 5. Um, it is shot for shot remake. They tried to do something different. Tried is very loosely there. Um, Jennifer Carpenter as Angela was good, and Jay Hernandez as the firefighter. Forgetting his name was also good, but and also the infected did look good in this movie as well. I'll give them that. The makeups department and everything, they did really good with them as well. So I thought they looked good. But as far as everything else here, it was nothing different. And like, I would never tell anybody to watch this movie before I tell them to watch Wreck.
Yeah, yeah, I agree with everything Tuan said. I'll give it a extra point five for the cute ass firefighter, but so like I guess a 2.5 out of 5. Um, I mean it wasn't horrible. I guess if you haven't seen, the Wreck movie, I know people, like this movie. I remember when it came out and it was like everywhere, everybody loved it. Um, I just, Wreck was just a really great movie. And it was really hard not to, I mean, obviously, they basically remade the movie, but it was really hard not to compare the two. Um, but I mean, it was okay. Though I wouldn't go around showing people this movie. I'd probably show them Wreck first, and then maybe the movie. Um, so yeah, 2.5 out of 5.
I would also give it a 2.5 out of 5 because it's not a bad movie. It's just if you watch the original, you don't need to watch this. It does the exact same thing, but it doesn't do it better. It doesn't change anything. See, I hate remakes because it's usually the same story we already know. But with remakes with like Friday the 13th and Nightmare on Elm Street, they give you something new they give you enough new that it's not so much a shot for shot remake. This movie is just a shot for shot remake with like one or two differences from the original, and it's not needed. Americans can read subtitles. They could just put the Spanish version in theaters and got more money. That's it for Quarantine. Join us next week as we talk about Quarantine 2, The Terminal, which also will bring us to the end of the whole Rec retrospective. So, thank you all so much for listening. The Haddonfield Horrors Podcast is a Letters to Media production.
Should we do an intro?